The Mystic. Conversations with a Mystic. The Light of Consciousness. Years ago, Jorge was struggling to win projects for his freelancing business. He had difficulty running his own firm because landing projects was not his strong suit. He was excellent at his craft, but marketing himself was a challenge. Then, one day, he had a breakthrough. Something shifted within him. In a moment of clarity, he let go of his habit of overanalyzing every situation and his need to control every outcome. With his confidence restored, he realized that when he stopped fighting the universe and brought joy to his affairs, things began to flow. He began to live by his new motto, which became his mantra of success. I am joy and gratitude in every aspect of my business. I am here to serve, the rest will follow. And I trust this process. He sent frustration, fear, and doubt out the door and allowed himself to be guided from within. It wasn't long before he was able to pick up more projects and he began to smile more and relax. This quiet turning point stirred a deeper curiosity within him, a yearning to understand the meaning behind the forces that shape a person's life. After some time, he found a spiritual teacher he came to call the Mystic. Jorge sometimes attended his talks and listened as he answered questions from others about life and spiritual matters. There was something about the Mystic's calm presence and clarity that began to influence him. However, Jorge had never really had the chance to sit down one-on-one to talk with him at length. But then, one bright Sunday morning at the beginning of summer, Jorge unexpectedly spotted the Mystic, seated in a corner of a popular garden cafe, gazing thoughtfully out over the blue ocean. Jorge's face lit up as he caught his attention, then waved to him. The Mystic smiled warmly and motioned him over. Come sit, Jorge, and have some tea with me, the Mystic said kindly. It is always great to see you and feel your warm presence. He paused briefly, then added, and yet, I can sense that something is also on your mind. What is going on for you? He poured Jorge a cup as he sat down and exhaled. I have a few questions I've wrestled with for some time, he said. I want to experience God as real for myself. My desire may be unreasonable, but how can I see God with my own eyes? He hesitated, then continued. And I want to know that life and our universe truly have purpose and meaning. What is my place in this space-time matter reality? Why am I here and why now? He looked up. Can you help me find some answers? Something that confirms what I hope and feel in my heart? Any clue that might point the way? The Mystic leaned back, eyebrows lifting in mild surprise. Got it, he said slowly. Wow, see God with your own eyes, huh? And find the meaning of the universe and your reason for being here. He smiled and took a slow sip of tea. That is not a small ask, my friend, he said gently. You are literally asking for a miracle here. But I am up for the challenge. I shall try to convey some ideas, some distilled esoteric knowledge that may guide you in the right direction. The only miracle I can provide is that of sowing some seeds that may lead to insight. The rest, my friend, is up to you. That sounds intriguing, Jorge replied with enthusiasm. I've got nowhere else to be. The Mystic nodded. There, you said it, Jorge. Nowhere else to be. This really means now, here, to be, or else. Fully present in this moment, right where you are. He smiled softly. Isn't that what it means to be fully alive? He continued. This is how the universe works. God gives us clues along the way like pearls of wisdom, but we have to supply our heart's love, our intentions, and our conscious and wise discernment to unveil their hidden meaning. He reflected for a moment. You, being here with me right now, is a clue in itself. It is not by chance. It feels unmistakably as though the universe itself has conspired for us to meet here today. It means you have stepped onto the path of self-realization. He looked at Jorge steadily. The graduated path of awakening is laid before you and me and those who seek, and I think God is watching with anticipation to see how we unravel the mystery, how we become the truth within us, and how we choose to walk the path back to reality, back to source. He leaned forward, his voice gentler now. Truth reveals itself in proportion to our capacity to understand it. There are lesser truths and higher truths, like a ladder of insights, but we can only grasp new insights relative to what our mind is able to comprehend. He paused. Each insight becomes a stepping stone, stretching the mind toward greater comprehension as it is revealed, layer by layer, revelation by revelation. This is why truth appears relative. It is not the same for everyone, because each soul walks the path to its own drumbeat, shaped by its development, readiness, and inner attainment, all conditioned by its thoughts and desires, whether pure or impure. He settled back again. Jorge, the mystic continued, what I am about to share with you is the fruit of my own journey, insights I have gained and come to understand over time. He met Jorge's gaze. Do not accept these merely because they come from me. Reflect on them, weigh them, then vet them in your own heart and mind. He went on. I believe with great conviction that truth was written in our hearts from the beginning by the Creator, because we are God's expression in form. Our minds and hearts were designed so that we can perceive, intuit, reason, and discern, to be guided from within, and then choose to walk the path, moment by moment. This is how we use free will. If something is true or false, we will know, if we seek truth without prejudice. We may not know it instantly, but we will in time when we are ready. The mystic reflected aloud. I only wonder, what other faculties have we been given to know truth? He continued thoughtfully. Because the heart and the conscious, discerning mind are the only instruments I've found that God has given us by which we can know anything at all. And so, every student must test what they learn against that inner knowing of the soul, and only then make it their own, or discard it. Jorge nodded gently. There's truth in what you're saying, he said. Those are the only faculties by which we can know. Our intuition and gut feelings are really part of that too, right? The mystic smiled and said, the short answer is yes. The mind is a broad term for individualized consciousness, and consciousness itself is an even broader term encompassing all levels of awareness, from waking and sense consciousness through subconscious levels to the superconscious. For example, the Buddha taught that we have sensory perception, but those are just input sensors. It is the mind that perceives, interprets, catalogs, and stores the information, and moment by moment, we either use the ego mind of the human intellect or the higher mind to choose how we live our lives. He paused, then added softly, what I'm about to share isn't something to believe. It's something to perceive and experience, because somehow we know that there is an absolute truth that is the foundational standard behind all creation and all its laws, or there would be chaos. With a knowing smile, the mystic asked, so now, Jorge, are you ready for a thought experiment? Jorge grinned. Absolutely, he said. I'm game. Okay, now sit comfortably and close your eyes for a moment, the mystic said. Let me paint a picture for your mind's eye, beginning with your imagination, and then let us reason together. Jorge obeyed with delight. First, the mystic said softly, tune out all the sounds from the cafe as if we're sitting in a sound bubble. I'm turning on a soothing soundbite on my phone to help you focus. Now, picture the universe as you can see it with your eyes and through a telescope. See our solar system suspended in the Milky Way, radiant suns blazing with brilliance, spiral galaxies unfurling like whirls of light, nebulas glowing in celestial colors, all turning in silent rhythm, and our own sun constantly blazing to make life possible on Earth. He paused. Can you see it? Jorge nodded. Yes, I see it. I see everything as alive and evolving. The whole universe is in motion, on multiple dimensions, all moving in harmony. That is a great observation, the mystic continued. Now imagine human beings as living souls, watching, participating, and evolving in this grand orchestration. Through daily living, they sweat and toil, experiencing both joy and suffering. Yet something stirs within them, a sense of wonder for creation and the reason for being, sometimes asking the deeper questions, like you are now, and in their longing for freedom, they give meaning to the sun and the stars. All of it, every moment, is part of their karmic experience. Jorge smiled, saying, yes, even though I can see that life is full of suffering, I still see joy and it feels purposeful. It leads somewhere. That's the idea, the mystic replied. Now hold that image, a universe radiant with purpose, light, memory, and full of experience. He paused intentionally. And now, Jorge, flip the big switch, and please, use both hands. What big switch? The mystic's voice grew more dramatic, the big light switch of the universe. As you flip it, all light everywhere is turned off. It disappears all at once, and the cosmos goes completely dark. The universe is still there, but without being seen, it becomes as if non-existent, present, yet empty of significance and relevance. He leaned closer. Did you flip the switch? Yes, Jorge replied, still a bit confused. What do you sense when visualizing that? Jorge swallowed, thinking, it feels empty, pointless, lifeless. You've got it, the mystic said softly. Now go further. Imagine that suddenly all sentient beings can no longer see or use their other senses and are thus no longer able to perceive or know anything. As one thing leads to another, next there will be nothing left to remember. There is no more input. Thus intelligence becomes unattainable, and with it all meaning is lost. Jorge whispered, that's a sad state of being. It's as if we and the universe with us cease to be, and even if still there, all is as if lifeless, utterly meaningless. The mystic nodded in agreement. Tell me, Jorge, what else can you intuit about such a universe? Jorge frowned. If no one can perceive it, what would be the point for God to create it at all? Even if the sun, planets, and stars still exist, no one can perceive or know they exist. Without conscious life, it is utterly pointless. Yes, the mystic said gently. This is the first key. When the light goes out, it is the light of consciousness that goes out. Without seeing, without conscious awareness, life becomes utterly pointless, and so also the universe. Meaning doesn't arise from things themselves, the mystic said. It arises when something is perceived and can be known. At that point, the universe may still exist physically, but it no longer exists in a meaningful way. The main point I'm getting at is this, the mystic said slowly. The manifested universe requires consciousness to be known. It was not created despite consciousness, but for consciousness, that it may evolve through it. The big light switch you just turned off, he added, was the light of consciousness itself. He allowed Jorge a moment to absorb this. Because think about it, Jorge. A universe that cannot be perceived or known is a universe without purpose. No meaning, no destiny, no reason to be. Yet the universe does exist, he said, which means its existence must serve the very thing that gives it purpose, consciousness itself. That is why it was called forth. The mystic paused, then smiled slightly. There is something to realize, he said. Not only does the universe exist for consciousness, it is remarkably comprehensible to the conscious mind that contemplates it. Not merely at the level of survival, but in its deepest structures and laws. Why should reality align with the structures of thought at all? That is the puzzle. Albert Einstein once remarked, the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. He was pointing to the mystery behind it. The mystic let the words hang for a moment. The same mind that wonders about its own existence is able to uncover the hidden order of the cosmos. Through reason, intuition, and mathematics, he continued, consciousness reads the universe as if it were written in a language it already understands. This is no small thing. Why should a universe born of blind forces be so deeply intelligible to the mind, he asked. Why should patterns discovered in thought describe realities far beyond our senses, stars, atoms, and laws that existed long before we did? It is almost as if the universe expects to be understood by us. If consciousness were merely a late evolutionary accident arising from random, non-conscious forces, there would be no reason for reality to align so precisely with the deep structures of thought. And yet it does. That is the puzzle. Reality is structured in such a way that conscious minds have the capacity to reason and comprehend beyond our base survival instincts. And so we do. Jorge opened his eyes. I see it now. Even if the universe is still there, it isn't really there unless beings are alive, conscious, and able to perceive it, right? Exactly, said the mystic. That's the first key. A universe where no one is aware of it is indistinguishable from non-existence. No witness, no experiencer, no memory, no self, no meaning to be made, hence no universe. Jorge, the mystic continued, we often assume that consciousness somehow emerges from the universe. But what you have just seen points in the opposite direction. The universe unfolds through order, coherence, and law. Yet order does not arise from chaos by itself. Law does not author itself. Structure does not sustain itself. For anything to endure, remain consistent, and follow stable laws, there must be an underlying intelligence that does not flicker in and out of existence. Forms may change, but what gives rise to form must remain. Consciousness is not the product of the universe, Jorge. It is the ground from which the universe arises. And that, Jorge, is the third key. Consciousness is not a late accident of matter. It is the permanent foundational condition by which matter, meaning, and experience arise at all. And interestingly, you saw all this, mostly with your eyes closed. Do you realize it wasn't your eyes that saw it? It was your mind, your inner eye of consciousness, that perceived all this. Pretty cool, huh? Then Jorge exclaimed, "Wow, that is utterly amazing. What an insight. My consciousness is the light that illuminates and the eye that truly sees. And without it, all creation is dark and meaningless." "Well put, my friend," the mystic said, smiling. "The manifested universe is that dream, clothed in matter. And that is why some traditions speak of God as the cosmic dreamer, the one who dreams the universe into being. And within it, we are not merely observers. We are the living mirrors through which God reflects back to itself, through the soul's consciousness. We are God awakening within us over time." "The soul was created for the sake of subjective experiencing," the mystic said, "as a separate self, an individuated expression of God, a distinct identity, yet never truly separate from the one." "And let me add something important here," the mystic continued. "It is not the brain that is the true center of individuality, but the self, the inner witness, the conscious core behind the thinking process. The brain functions more like an instrument, a tool for consciousness. Without individuated self-consciousness, there is nothing to direct, interpret, or give meaning to thought. But I'll talk more about this later." He paused, then continued. "For what purpose would a universe be created if there were no consciousness to witness it? Why would God bring forth a universe devoid of experience, where nothing could be known, felt, or realized?" Jorge chimed in. "It would serve no function at all. It might as well not have been created." "Exactly, Jorge," the mystic replied. "That is the second key. A material universe without conscious participation is empty of meaning, and therefore not worth creating. Consciousness is what gives the universe meaning, purpose, beauty, direction, and destiny," he continued. "It is what makes the universe come alive. Hence, consciousness and aliveness are synonymous. Now consider this, that the universe does not merely exist, it behaves." Jorge perked up. "What do you mean by it behaves? I've never heard that said about the universe." The mystic didn't miss a beat. "What I mean is, it unfolds through stable patterns, consistent principles, and dependable laws, thus it behaves. Gravity does not decide one day to reverse itself. Mathematics does not suddenly stop applying. The same principles operate yesterday, today, and across the farthest reaches of space into an infinite future. Such coherence is not accidental, and laws do not author themselves. Order does not sustain itself. Consistency does not arise from randomness alone. For anything to remain within the law, intelligible and reliable, there must be an enduring intelligence that gives rise to that order. And because God is eternal," the mystic added, "whatever arises from God must in some measure reflect that living intelligence. Otherwise creation would contradict its own source." "This is not a dead universe of inert matter," he said quietly, "but a living, conscious, and breathing universe, evolving and transcending." The mystic straightened slightly. "And now, let's go deeper. The universe operates through fundamental laws of physics, gravitational, quantum, electromagnetic, all expressed through mathematical language and geometric order. But for a law to be lasting, it must be constant, or permanent, if you will, and therefore it must be stored somewhere." "Stored somewhere?" Jorge asked, befuddled. "For anything to endure," the mystic said, "it must be remembered. A law that never fails must rest in that which never dies. A constant implies memory, like the memory hard drive in a computer that never fails. And this universal memory bank in which the laws are stored implies an underlying intelligence that must not die or even flicker." Jorge interrupted, uttering, Flicker? That's new. Can you explain this further? Of course, if the core consciousness sustaining the universe were to blink in and out of existence, even for an instant, then the laws depending on it would blink out as well. What would be the end result of that, Jorge? I would think that if the foundational consciousness collapses, the laws governing the universe collapse with it. It would crash the system, Jorge said. Right you are, the mystic replied. Thus, the guarantor of cosmic order must have constant, everlasting consciousness and being. Jorge hesitated, then said, That makes complete sense. The mystic nodded thoughtfully. Your image of the system crashing is a good one, he said. Let me build on that. Think of the universe as a cosmic computer program, one that exists within the mind of God. Time, space, and matter appear on the program's display, the screen of life itself. The laws of nature are the stored computer code, and God's consciousness or mind contains it all within what ancient traditions called the cosmic egg. Every tradition has named this hidden continuity in its own language. Eastern traditions refer to this universal memory field as Akasha, and what modern science today calls dark matter may very well be where this cosmic program runs, undetected. There must be something beneath appearances that gives them coherence and continuity. Natural laws remain intact only because they arise from that consciousness which has no beginning and no end. If that consciousness were to vanish, the program would collapse instantly, and the universe would cease to be. This is why God, as the originating principle, is and must be eternal and cannot die. Forms change, the mystic said, but what animates them does not. This is called the world ground, the permanent foundation for all that is created. But time, space, and matter can only collapse if God decides to withdraw the dream. We know one thing for certain: matter is not permanent. It came into existence, it changes constantly, and it can be destroyed. Everything that has a beginning also has an end. Jorge interrupted. Yes, but I know something that cannot be destroyed. Even if matter is destroyed, the energy within it cannot be, according to the laws of thermodynamics. Energy only changes form. So in that sense, energy is eternal, like God. Wow, Jorge, you hit the spot, the mystic said with a smile. I was just getting to that, but you beat me to it. I'm glad you're engaging in these ideas. That's the process that brings insights and the answers you're looking for. This also tells me that you are already walking the path towards self-realization. And you are right, Jorge, the mystic said. I know of those who state that energy is God, and there is validity to that. Jorge took advantage of the silence and asked, So what you're saying is that the order we see in the cosmos is not there by accident? Good point, said the mystic. There is no way an intelligent universe, one that operates through coherent laws, can emerge out of nothing, out of non-being, empty of intelligence and empty of consciousness. The universe would collapse without a blueprint that is continuously sustained by consciousness itself. He leaned forward. Jorge, who created the blueprint? God, I suppose. What you call the cosmic dreamer, Jorge said. Earlier, Jorge, you asked to see God face to face with your own eyes. I did. Is that even possible? Yes, you can, he said, but not in the way you might think. God cannot appear within the universe as an object, because God is not of the same essence as the universe itself, like in spirit versus matter. That which gives rise to everything cannot itself be one of the things, just as a programmer cannot step inside the computer or the program. There is an arc of contact, however, between the Spirit of God and the manifested reality, and that is through energy and consciousness. God is the electricity, the energy that powers the computer, and the one who qualifies those energies through thoughts and feelings using the keyboard. As we attune to higher vibrations of energy and realms of thought, we move closer to that source. And I can teach you to see God, but you've got to stay with me as I build up to it. We need to unpack the secret of an Eastern teacher called Abhinavagupta, who taught us to do just that. Just let me build the foundation first, okay? Jorge answered excitedly. That sounds awesome. I can't wait. Now, one more key about consciousness, the mystic continued. It is not a byproduct of matter, biology, or brain chemistry, as many scientists, materialists, and thinkers believe. On the contrary, in esoteric teachings, it is stated that consciousness is the reason there is a cosmos, the precursor, the cause behind the effect. The intelligence that created the universe pre-existed the universe. Mathematics was not invented by man, only discovered, because it was already there, woven into the very fabric of the universe. Jorge asked quietly, "Some materialists say they believe in nothing, that there is no God beyond existence." Jorge uttered, "What about that?" The mystics smiled gently. "They are partially right, because God is, in reality, not a thing, no thing at all. Consciousness is not a thing, it simply is. That no thing, which cannot be articulated, defined, measured, or contained, is the conscious intelligence and energy that grants life to the universe." In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu wrote, "The Tao that can be articulated is not the constant Tao. The name that can be named is not the constant name." Constant here can also mean eternal. That is why the Tao does not mean God, but simply the way. And that is a perspective of consciousness, is it not? A way of seeing the universe. Jorge breathed deeply. So the universe exists for the sake of consciousness, for awareness, for the self to experience it? Yes, the mystic smiled. That is it. Exactly. Consciousness is the light that lights up the universe from within. And the universe is the dream of the cosmic dreamer, clothed in matter. In essence, the universe was created for the expansion of God consciousness to express itself, and through that process, transcend toward new heights of perfection. For this reason, God created the soul, a separate self apart from God, yet one with God. And we are the subjective experience through which the Creator sees and knows itself. One spiritual teacher once said, the mystic added, "Even the smallest electron is part of this hierarchy of beings in this free will universe, and shows its ability to express free will through its orbit. They have never been able to map its orbit, you know." He chuckled softly. "It shows there is consciousness present even there." After a long pause, the mystic spoke again, more affirming now. "Before we take off for lunch, let me circle back to what I've said this morning. What I've been pointing to, Jorge, is not something to believe, but something to experience from exactly where you are in your own soul's evolution. All that we know about the universe, its laws, its mathematical order, its structures and harmonies, arose with the universe itself, the program. Modern science tells us the universe did have a beginning. It speaks of a great expansion, crudely called the Big Bang, yet it remains silent about what preceded it. Space came into being as matter emerged, formed, transformed, and continues to change. With this expansion, time came to be as well, which is a byproduct, a result of creation and expansion. Physicists say that before this expansion there was no space, and before matter there was just an extremely hot, dense energy-dominated state, quantum fields, and radiation. Matter came later. And yet, the laws that govern this unfolding did not arise randomly. They exhibit coherence, stability, and intelligibility from the very beginning. And still, something is already implied. For a universe to emerge, something already had to be there, restless, dynamic, pregnant with possibility. The universe did not merely appear and then become intelligible. It arose as intelligible from the very beginning. This points to a prior originating principle, one that is not material yet gives rise to matter, not visible yet revealed through pattern and order. Consciousness, in this sense, is not produced by the universe. It is the underlying and sustaining presence by which the universe continues to arise, moment by moment. If consciousness were removed, the universe would not merely go dark visually, it would collapse existentially. The Buddha expressed this insight through the doctrine of dependent origination. He taught that nothing exists independently. He stated that all things arise in dependence upon prior causes and conditions, similar to a flower that needs soil, water, sun, and air to exist and grow. These conditions need to exist prior to the flower sprouting from a seed. In the same way, the universe needed the prior condition of consciousness from the mind of God to dream it up. And while he refrained from defining God, he affirmed the existence of that prior condition, which is unborn, unbecome, unmade, and unconditioned. This is what I referred to when I said God is not in the computer or its program, but beyond it, not subject to birth, death, time, or space. Yet God can respond to us by sending energy, consciousness, intelligence, insight, and love into the manifested universe for us to experience. And that, Jorge, is the fourth key. For the universe to remain lawful, intelligible, and enduring, there must be an enduring intelligence that does not flicker, fail, or cease. Such intelligence is not abstract or mechanical. It is conscious, aware, and ever-present. For those seeking proof of God, empirical evidence, what I can say is this: if God were to appear physically in the physical world, he would appear in a form that is limited, conditioned, and one that could be destroyed. And whatever can be destroyed is ultimately not God as supreme reality. That is why God cannot be seen with physical eyes, cannot be held, cannot be reduced to matter. And yet, God or Source reveals itself everywhere as vibrational energy, as consciousness, as intelligence, as karma, as virtue, as love and compassion, as presence of God, as bliss, and as that which endures, the unseen foundation from which creation arises and rests, and by which its laws persist endlessly without effort. The mystic fell silent. He gazed out toward the ocean, where light danced across the water. Jorge sat quietly absorbing what had been said. His mind wanted to respond, but no words came. After a moment, the mystic spoke softly. "If a universe exists," he said, "but no one is alive in it, who or what is it for?" Jorge felt the question settle somewhere deeper than thought. He opened his mouth to answer, then paused. The mystic smiled gently. "Good," he said. "No need to answer that." He stood, setting his cup aside. "Come," he continued as he stood up. "Let's get some lunch." Jorge laughed lightly, grateful for the release. The mystic added, his voice warm and sincere, "Jorge, I have not yet fully answered your questions. So after lunch, let's head to the beach. There, I'll share a few more ideas, ones that may very well answer them, if you're game." Jorge stood, looked intently at the mystic, and smiled. "I definitely am," he said. "Let's grab some lunch.